A lot of you don't know him, but he was the former senior trial attorney from the IRS. He's now sued the IRS over 2,000 times, and he's never lost the case. He just knows how hard to push these guys and when to tell you to back down. And that is such a fine line to find. And I love working with Scott and some of the other people we work with, some of the best stock market traders in the nation. Obviously, Aaron, real estate. I don't know anybody in the nation that knows more about him and about real estate. So that's sort of what we do. We've also, for years, sold an asset protection kit since the late 70s. Long before LegalZoom ever existed, we sell an asset protection kit that for some people is probably a really good bargain. Here's all the legal forms to set up your own limited partnerships and LLCs and corporations. How many of you set up your own corporation all by yourself without the use of an attorney? Okay, so a few. How many of you have done your own limited partnerships or LLCs without the use of an attorney? Good. So about a quarter, third of you. How many of you set up your own trust all by yourself? Wait a minute. How many of you have an IRA? That is a trust. And when you set up your IRA, there's a beneficiary, right? Your 401k has a trust. And what you did was you filled out the form that an attorney had prepared. You put your name where the name went. You didn't really understand what beneficiary, but there was something that explained what that is. And you put the date where the date went, and you had it signed and notarized or witnessed, but you just followed the form. If we can make the forms that easy, sometimes you can save yourself a lot of money on legal issues. So that's sort of what we do, and that's why I've answered questions for 21 years, is helping people walk through that. All right, before we talk legal, there's always a disclaimer. All right. I'm going to throw out some tax ideas. We're going to talk about legal structures, but how that relates to you and your situation, I don't know. We're going to, in a classroom of 30, 40 people, we'll talk about legal ideas, but does that apply to you? I don't know. One of the things we do at the summits is we give you a chance to sit down with any of the speakers on stage, and sometimes their whole staff, if you want to, and ask questions and say, okay, because sometimes this principle doesn't apply to you. Maybe you thought it did, but it really doesn't. And so being able to sit down and strategize is really sometimes a really good idea. So that's, again, let's go. If I were to consider what I consider the four major threats to an estate, here's how I break it down. I do it in terms of tornadoes. How many of you have been through a tornado? Anybody? Our Kansas people, you betcha. Fun experience? It's a learning experience. Okay, I live in the mountains of Utah. We don't have tornadoes there. But what I know is that they can be very selective, right? They can hit your town, and even in your town, they hit your home. They jump over 20 homes and hit the church. They hit your bank, and then they go away. Whatever, but very selective. But when they do, they're almost always devastating. Is that fair? Okay. So here's the four financial tornadoes, and they're not in any particular order, but income taxes. And I'm kind of going to give you an outline of where we want to go today. With this new Trump tax law, and Aaron's given you a great introduction, there's so many great benefits to this Trump tax law. You might love him, you might hate him, but the tax law is what it is. It was signed by Congress, but it really benefits real estate investors. And so if we're going to reduce our taxes, we really need to understand the new provisions of the tax code. So we can talk about this in great detail. We can spend our whole 2 hours or an hour and a half or whatever we have until Aaron cuts me off. We'd spend our whole time talking about the new Trump tax tax ideas to reduce your taxes. So we can do that. We can also talk about estate taxes and probate. A lot of you have heard about estate taxes, and with the estate tax limit federally now up to 11.4 million, you go, oh, we're not going to pay estate taxes. But then some of you live in states with a pickup tax, which means your state has signed a law that says, well, if the federal government's not going to charge it, then we will. Oh, you didn't know that. And you won't know that till you die. Probate can be, you add up everything you own. Everything, you put it in one pile. This is the equities in your properties, your home, your retirement account, everything. If you don't have a really good plan for your stuff, plan on 6 to 10% of the pile going to somebody to figure out who's going to own what. But there's so much that we can do. I helped a lady from this class a couple months ago. She's got her husband died. She's 38 years old, got 4 little kids at home. He owned a $4 million water drilling company down in Texas. They'll come on your land, drill a water well, and that's what they did. The problem is that it was set up as a single member LLC. Now that he's passed away, who owns the single member LLC? Well, it's going to go through probate, and it will probably end up being the wife, but after 9 to 12 months of probate, that company may not be worth $4 million anymore. So no matter what, we always tie everything that we do down to our trust. How many of you have a big popcorn Tupperware bowl? Ladies? You have a big popcorn Tupperware. Where do you keep your Tupperware bowl? In the cabinet. And do you ever put it in empty, or you put all the little Tupperware bowls inside of it? All the little Tupperware bowls go inside of it, and then you put it away. The trust is like your big Tupperware bowl. Yes, I'm going to own a corporation, but I'm going to title the stocks, not in my name, but in the name of the trust. When I pass away, there's clear title to that business, or my interest in the business, therefore it avoids probate. Yes, I'm going to own limited partnerships, but I'm going to title those in the name of the trust. At least my interest. And what we're going to do, we're going to teach you, we can teach you how to make those ties and those connections down to the trust. You shouldn't have to go through probate. Probate is 100% optional if you will use the proper tools in a timely manner. Jackie Kennedy died with a $94 million estate. Do you know what she paid in probate? You know what she paid in estate taxes? We can take anybody's estate 100% of the time and avoid probate and estate taxes. They're optional if you'll let us use the proper legal tools in a timely fashion. You don't have to do that. So we can spend time on that. We can talk about capital gains taxes. And capital gains taxes and income taxes are very different kind of lawsuits. That are different types of tornadoes than lawsuits. Lawsuits kind of come down banging on the head one day, right? And capital gains and income taxes just suck out the lifeblood out of your estate. And we ought to just turn that picture upside down. Because it just, and the rich people who understand the tax code get rich. And the poor wonder why they never can save money for retirement. And we can spend a lot of time on capital gains taxes and talk about the 7 legal tools that the IRS has given us to avoid capital gains. Now, we can also talk about lawsuits. We can talk about the threats, where the threats come from. We can talk about legal structures. We can talk, this is your time. So I've got about an hour and a half. Where do you want to go? What we're doing is we're taking 3 days of advanced 3-day class, and we're going to condense it into an hour and a half. And we're taking 5 textbooks, and we're going to squish it all together. So where do you want to go?
I have a question.
Okay.
On an IRA, what do you have to
any Roth IRA, you need to start taking minimum distributions at 79.
79. But you can still have it after.
You can still contribute.
But you gotta stop taking money out.
You gotta start taking minimum distributions at one point. All right, so where else where do you want to spend your time?
An S corp and a C corp as your holding company.
Okay,
What's the advantage tax-wise of doing it in one or the other?
let's talk about that, okay? S Corp, C Corps, okay? What else? Where do you want to spend time? Capital gains? Where at? Income taxes? Do we want to spend any time on legal structures? And how to nest things and how to, should I use a limited partnership or an LLC? Should it be a single member, multi-member, manager managed, member managed? These terms get confusing, but we can spend a lot of time on that. So, little time on taxes, little time on capital gains. Let's see where this goes, okay? And where we've got a little bit more extra time, if you have questions, let's finish one little section, and then we'll take questions on it. Is that fair? Or if you got a question on this particular, we got time, so we're going to hurry through a lot of stuff, but let's go. There are 4 basic things that you have to understand if you're going to reduce your taxes. I'm going to go through these sort of one by one. Number 1 is there's toll roads and free roads through the tax system. But they never put up big blinking signs on the free roads. Only on the toll roads. Where are we at? Right there. I'll come back. Okay, so I used to live in the little state of New Jersey. And I'm from the West. I thought a free road was just a road. No. And what I learned, in the late 70s, they wanted to build a toll road through New Jersey. And the promise was, look, you won't have to pay property taxes anymore, because anybody coming through our township that wanted to get from Pennsylvania into New York City would be paying your property taxes. So no more property taxes, and we voted it in. Well, it didn't work out that way, but that was okay. What we were told as residents is that you can get a map and figure out how to get to New York City just about as fast, or you can take the toll road. Either way, what we found is the police officers didn't care which road we took as long as we obeyed the laws on that road. The income tax system works exactly the same way. And I'll show you a lot of free roads that the IRS, that Congress has given us, but we don't know about them. Okay, so we'll talk about that. That's a basic understanding. Another basic thing is there are 2 sets of tax rules in the U.S. I used to think, one for the rich, one for the poor. It's not that way. It's for those who have a business and those who don't. This new tax code, they took away almost all of your personal deductions. They took away one business deduction, which was entertainment. We can sometimes get around that. And then they added a whole bunch of stuff on real estate and for business owners. So let's play the game. Let's say you had $100,000. I can do the math on that. Okay, so this is personal income that you receive as a W-2 employee. What's the very first thing that you're going to pay? Taxes. You'd be in about a 27% tax bracket, leaving you $76,000 to spend, right? If your expenses are about $70,000, that gives you a whopping $6,000 to save for retirement. Whoop-de-doo about what you can put into an IRA, okay? Here's the other set of tax, the other set of rules. $100,000, but for a business, what they do is the same $70,000 in expense, now I can deduct it right now and then pay my taxes. So I'm not going to be taxed on the $100,000 now, I'm going to be taxed on not on the gross, but on the net. So, which leaves, probably corporate tax right now is 21%. Which leaves me $23,000 to save for retirement. That's better than the other side, right? So that's a big difference. Let's summarize this real quick. If you don't have a business, you earn it, pay the taxes, and then spend whatever's left over. If we had a business, we could earn it, spend it all, and maybe even have a loss, and then pay taxes. Our goal is to shift as much side from one side to the other side as you can. By the way, you're welcome to take pictures if you want to, but wait until you see a little camera at the bottom of the screen, because then it will be complete. We're all ready to go, okay? See how we've... Okay. I'm smart enough to know that not everything in life you can call a business deduction. About 2 years ago, we finally tackled Aaron and went, Aaron, you have to have a business, a personal account. Him and the accountant hit him high, I hit him low, and we went, you can't call everything in life a business deduction. You have to have some personal. All right, so I get that. Our goal, though, is not to claim everything as a business deduction. Our goal is to shift as much as we can from the left side of the screen to the right side of the screen. That's our goal. Keep that as a fundamental principle in mind. And then understanding the new 2018 tax code. There are some basic things you kind of need to know. This is a 1040 Schedule A. This is where we deduct all of our personal deductions. This is the old one. Let me walk you through this. The very first thing that happened that you need to know is the floor has changed. If married couple, if all of this stuff doesn't add up to $24,800, it's not worth filling this out. Take the standard deduction and you're going to be better off. Now, if you're a single person, cut that in half, you can do the math, okay? So we add up whatever we can add up. If it doesn't come to 24,800, take the standard deduction. All right. The very first thing is medical expenses. That's the first thing on the form. Went from 10% to 7.5% of your adjusted gross income. Which means that, let's say, again, $100,000 that I made, unless I have $7,501, I can't claim anything. It's the $1 now I get to put down on my tax. So add up all of your medical expenses. Unless I have $7,500, I don't get to claim a penny. But there are some of you in here that are already have a business structure that allows you to deduct 100% of medical expenses from $1. How many are using that? Cool. And how do you do that? We have a C corporation, number one, somewhere in our mix. We have a C corporation with Section 105 approved language. This is out of Section 105 of the Internal Revenue Code. I'll show you how to do this in a minute. But make sure that somewhere, if you're paying a lot of medical expenses for you and your family, that it's a write-off. That's a free road, okay? So the next thing on the line is all your state taxes. This is your property taxes. This is your state income taxes. Now at this point there is a cap. If all of those state taxes don't come up to 10,000, or you're capped at 10, and that's going to really hurt people like in Texas that have really high property taxes. It's going to hurt people in Connecticut that have high property taxes and high income taxes. Californians, high property taxes. New York, New Jersey. State taxes are now capped at $10,000, and that's going to hurt you. All right? So, and again, this is a joint return. The next thing down the line is mortgages. Mortgage interest deduction is still available for first mortgages. Second mortgages, it depends on what you use the money for. If it was to pay off debts, nope. If it went into your house to improve your house, then it can be tax deductible. So that's kind of a little thing. Charitable donations are next. And there's no change in charitable donations, except, again, if I donated $10,000 to the Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts, but it doesn't meet the floor, I can't write off charitable donations, no matter what it was good for. It may have been the best beneficial, you know, help the little Girl Scouts do their cookies and their, it doesn't matter. It's not tax deductible if you don't hit the floor. And then almost everything else down below there is gone. All your other personal deductions, moving expenses, property loss, unreimbursed employment expenses, all of those types of expenses, we lost those in the 2018 tax code. Okay? That's a basic thing, and then there's one other basic thing I want you to understand. And that is, a lot of you, when we buy real estate, there's always three considerations. We look at cash flow, we look at appreciation, and we look at the tax benefits. And there's times we buy real estate just for the cash flow. That's what we need. We need lots of cash flow. Okay, that's good. But sometimes we just buy a property just for the appreciation. That's more important to us. Long term, but what most of you don't realize is the tax benefits. And so don't discount the tax benefits that can come from owning real estate. We'll talk about that in just a second. In fact, we'll sort of talk about that right now. If I were to 21 years of teaching asset protection, let me tell you what I consider are the most commonly missed tax deductions for real estate investors. There it is on the screen. And I've had people all the time that say, well, my accountant told me not to claim depreciation deductions on my properties this year because it would show a loss in real estate. That's good. We like paper losses. We never like to lose money, but we like paper losses. We like that. And if you don't claim depreciation deductions on this house this year, most of you know that residential houses, you can take and spread it out over 27 and a half years. If you don't take it right now, we don't take it for the next 2 years. Are they going to add that on at the end of the 27 years? No! You just lose it. Why would you not take those things? And it's the same thing with anything else. Anything related to that business, it's a legitimate business expense, even if it shows as a loss. We like paper losses. That's good. So take the deductions you're allowed to take. Let's talk about real estate losses. Oh, here, Aaron showed you this, so we're not spending time on an audit. But let's talk about real estate losses for a second, okay? A lot of you, as I've sat down with you over the last couple of days, don't understand this concept, so I'm going to simplify it. Let's say we take a property. This was one that they had. It was an all-in cost of $82,000. They had this little one a couple months ago. It's turnkey. It's ready to go. It's got a renter in it. It's ready to go. Here's how this would affect your taxes this year. We split out the land cost, because land we can't depreciate. Whether the building is on it or it burns down or it doesn't matter, the land is still good. That's an expense that I can't recapture. That's your investment. Boy, I can take the 62.5 and split that out, divide it over 27 and a half years, and what would happen then is my tax impact, if everything else was equal, you know, the rents and the expenses, everything else is equal, my tax impact is it would show as a $2,200 loss this year. That's good. Did you actually lose money in real estate? No, you invested money, but I get this. You get to use that $2,200 to offset any other investments that I have in income from other investments. And if I just have W-2 income, that loss can go up to $3,000 to offset W-2 income. Okay? Now, if my loss is bigger than what I can take, I don't need all the loss, that loss rolls forward to the next year. Is there anybody here who could use a $2,200 loss in real estate? Okay, like 6 of you, that's good, okay, you're with me. But let's say we bought the property differently. Instead of turnkey, we buy it and it needs a little rehab. So let's split it up a little differently to show you on the taxes how real estate losses work. What we're going to do is we're going to separate the improvements from the repairs. The land is still not depreciating, still there. But I'm going to take the building and the improvements. The improvements is I added on a bedroom. Maybe I went from Formica to a granite countertop. Maybe, I don't know, we have got a house over here on Orange Street. We added an upstairs bathroom. That's an improvement. So those types of things. So we take the building and the improvements, and those we have to depreciate out over 27 and a half years. I didn't come up with the number, the IRS did. So your tax impact this year, if everything else was equal, was a $1,000 loss. Now that's not as better than the 2,200. But what happens to the repairs? Right now, this year, this new Trump tax law, I get to deduct 100% of that this year. So my real estate loss is what? $34,000, which is better than 2,200. Anybody can use a $34,000 loss in real estate? Yeah, and again, if you can't use it all this year, then it rolls forward to the next year to offset any of their investment properties. You know that there are people that come back to Aaron every year and they buy another pre-rehab house. Now the rule is you have to put this in service sometime this year, but it's February, so you have plenty of time to buy a pre-rehab house and recapture that loss. This is where Trump says he doesn't pay taxes because he has so many losses rolling forward from previous years. Eric.
So does that need to be taken against real estate income? How strict is that?
It has to be against other investment income.
Investment income.
Yep. Cool. Okay. Or again, up to $3,000 of W-2 income. All right. Everybody understand real estate losses? Is that a biggie?
Yeah.
This is a biggie. Yes. Question.
The repairs, can you clarify repairs?
You want everything in life to be a repair, do you not? The IRS wants everything to be an improvement. Aaron, I'll leave this to you.
It's weird. None of my houses have improvements. They're all repairs. It's the craziest thing. It's just a quirk, you know. Actually, the only time I do an improvement is if I add a bonus room or finish a basement. But everything else, if I'm adding square footage or finishing square footage, everything else I make can be a repair. That's just me.
Well, that makes sense. All right, so again, you want everything to be a repair, the IRS want, and get the bigger deduction now and not spread it out over time, right? Question?
All right. So we bought a house last year, and we completely gutted it and refurbished it. So we claim that as a repair, correct? All right.
There we go. All right, now.
But remember, if you get audited on that, you'll lose some of it. There's no win, but who cares, right? Because you only got half of 1% chance of getting audited.
Okay. Now, another thing that we can help you with sometimes is a lot of you, if you have investment property already, 99% of all CPAs are trained to take repairs and split this out like this. 27 and a half years for residential, 39 years for commercial. And we're going to take all the costs, all the expenses, and spread it out over either 27 and a half or 39. But there are a few specialty companies, probably 20 or less, in the U.S. that specialize in cost segregation. They would bring in an engineer and sort of a real estate appraiser and sort of a CPA experience, and then we're going to split up this property a little differently. And what we're trying to do is get you more deduction right now this year, and we're going to bring this forward. We're going to take the countertops and the carpets and some of the flooring, and we're going to put this on a 5-year depreciation schedule. If it's commercial, it's going to be 7. We're going to take the parking lots and the improvements. We're going to try to get you a bigger. We're going to look at this property, and we're going to say, well, this was countertop, this was retaining wall. We're going to separate this $82,000. We're going to split it up very differently, and we're going to give you the biggest tax deduction we can possibly give you this year, so that you've got more money to invest in real estate. And you've got bigger losses to offset maybe other gains you have. Is this good? So this requires a cost engineer. Your local CPA can't help you with this. We can get you to the right people to do. So if you've got other properties with a market value of over $100,000, they can usually save you an 8-to-1. Here's their goal, is to save you an 8-to-1 ratio of what it costs. If it costs them $2,000 to come out, they're looking to save you at least $16,000 in taxes this year, or it's not worth them doing it. Is that a fair ratio? Here are the averages that they can get for most people. Apartment rentals, 35%. Office buildings, 25% down the road. So if you've got existing real estate, even if you're in the middle of a depreciation schedule, we can often help you get bigger deductions right now, which is more money to invest in real estate because you got a bigger tax deduction this year.
This is huge topic.
Yes, big.
Big thing.
All right, they didn't tell you about those free roads. Yes.
So there is no cap or limit for you can put it when you can?
There's no cap or limit. No, there's no cap. Nope. You get a commercial property and you put $500,000 in it, there's no cap on that.
Let's say if I put the new roof, and then if it like costs like $8,000, does it have to be, my CPA wanted to depreciate over time, I can pay for that.
Slap him upside the head. Say, no, I want to take this now. Question.
I don't see houses.
Residential houses are not on there. You're right. This was from them. And so this would be kind of an independent thing.
Because of the commercial, there's special rules for each of those that they can.
Yes, there are.
Additional.
There are special rules, and I don't specialize in cost segregation. That's why, but I can get you to the right guys. Remember, we're an education company. We're kind of like the quarterback. We're going to pass this to Anderson. We're going to pass this to cost segregation. We're going to pass this to. We don't do anything other than teach you how to do it, but we can get you to the right people. We are very well connected. Cool? All right. So let's go on. Opportunity zones. Erin talked about that. And Megan is probably our best in-house specialist. She has some properties that are really good on opportunity zone, which means you probably won't ever pay capital gains taxes. Now, real estate losses, opportunity zones, are they really good investments for an IRA? No! No, you're not looking for property losses in an IRA because that's in a tax-free environment. But when you're using your own money, LLCs, limited partnership, those opportunity zones don't work well in IRAs because, okay? So opportunity zones, Aaron talked about that, I'll let that go. Qualified business income is a very big part of the new tax law. What that means is 20% of your income gets written off right off the top if you will run it as a business. Now again, this doesn't work for IRA stuff, but everything else, if we can run your business as a business, which means you need an LLC. You need a separate bank account. You need to run it as a business. Otherwise, you're not eligible, according to the law, for 20% of your rents coming off the top. You need to run the business as a business. Follow those rules, and we're gonna spend a lot of time on this at the 3-day summit. When you get there or when you come back. See, a lot of you have been to the summit years ago, but so much has changed. Okay, so we want to keep you updated. But another part of the Trump tax law, if we're putting in like an Airbnb or a furnace or an air conditioning unit, according to this now expanded section 179 deductions and bonus depreciation, almost anything you can put into that house, I can deduct right now. Oh, that's pretty cool. All right, so there's that. And then medical expenses. We talked about this, and some of you that have C corporations and are using it, here's what I did. Last year, I added up all our family's medical expenses. I have 5 kids, just 5, we have to say in Utah, but just 5. And so, we added them all up. This is co-payments, or it's premiums, it's deductibles, it's co-payments, it's mileage to and from the doctor, the dentist, anything medically related. Exercise equipment if it was prescribed.
Air conditioning?
Air conditioning, if I've got a special need at home for, I can't get too hot, I've got a medical conditioning, you betcha. Anything that's medically related. Herbs and supplements, if they're prescribed. Over-the-counter medicines, if they're prescribed. And some of you that have C Corps, but you're not utilizing it. So what I do is I add up anything medically related. It is a medical reimbursement plan. I have to pay for it personally, not out of the corporation. I add up and I send an invoice over to the corporation. I used to do it monthly, and I don't do that anymore. I send it yearly. Last year it was $26,200. I had all the medical, here's slap on all the receipts, there you go, send it over to the corporation, I go over to my other computer and I pay myself $26,200, expense to the corporation, tax-free money to me. Because the IRS says that I can. Why aren't you doing that? It's not subject to 7.5% of your adjusted gross income, $1, because the IRS says I can. Now some of you, it doesn't make sense to have a C corporation. And we'll talk about differences in a minute. But some of you, that's all you need is an HSA plan. Let me finish this. An HSA plan is a health savings account, which is used just for medical, but it's like an IRA. Do you know that you could self-direct this baby? Build it up, use it to partner on a real estate deal. Dennis could be your custodian, and use that to partner on real estate deals. Ooh!
And at 65, you can take it out, no tax.
I'm not sure about that. I think it has to always be used for medical.
No,
Was
there's
that right?
some age where you can just cut it out and it's your money.
Okay, there we go. I don't know that one. Dennis would be the expert on that. But I know you can self-direct.
Can you back up to the other slide for a moment?
Back up to the C corporation slide.
That.
Okay. All right. So HSA plans are a great way to save for retirement. So maximize those things and use those. If a C corporation doesn't make sense for you, that's okay. At least use something to deduct your medical expenses. Okay? Are we ready? Yep, question.
If your C Corp pays the reimbursement on the medical expenses, on your personal tax, you have to declare that as income.
Nope. Well, yeah, you still claim income, but you're getting less money from the C Corp probably, so it's going to reduce your tax. But I don't know if you're using the C Corp or not. No, it's not going to affect your personal taxes. It's going to affect your business taxes.
But its benefit is value that you receive personally.
You can't deduct medical expenses any other way, can you? Unless they get up to 7.5% of your adjusted gross income. So you're not losing the money. It's just I'm reducing the taxes that I pay to the corporation, and I'm putting more money in my pocket tax-free.
Maybe I'm not being clear.
Okay.
You're shifting the expense to the business.
Right, you're not recording that as income
That's
because.
fine.
Yep.
I'm not, but you have to separate business from personal. As a personal income, is that considered income?
No, it's a reimbursement. I don't claim the $26,000 as income. It is tax-free money, expense to the business, I put it in my pocket and never pay taxes on it.
But it's as if the business paid the expense in the first place, except the business is just paying it later.
Correct.
But you're not paying for the value of that payment.
Correct, I don't pay that. The $26,000 doesn't show on my personal taxes as income. It's in my pocket, nobody sees it. And you notice whenever I'm citing these, I'm giving you the IRS code where you can find it, okay? All right, so let's move on. What about contributions to retirement plans? A lot of you know about IRAs. Okay, I can contribute up to $6,000 into my IRA, or $7,000 if I'm over 50. There's simples and 401ks and SEPs and up to $57,000, right? I just helped a lady last year put $300,000 into a defined benefit plan. That's an expense to her company. It's tax-free to her until she takes it out. Oh, baby, they didn't tell you about defined benefit plans. When you're making a lot of money, put as much as you can in your retirement accounts. What the others, IRAs, SEPs, simples, they're defined contribution plans. They're defining the contribution that you can make. They're saying, here's the maximum. But a defined benefit plan works backwards. What that says is, oh, okay, you're 55 years old, you haven't saved enough money for retirement. Here's the standard of living of which you're accustomed. Therefore, you need $3.2 million in your retirement account. We're going to allow you to work backwards and put up to, in most cases, $225,000. But there's exceptions to every rule of the IRS. Up to $300,000. Expense to the company, tax-free to me. Now, is she gonna? It's going to be treated as a traditional. She's going to pay taxes on it someday, but not today. That cool? They didn't tell you about those free bills, did they? All right, so let's go on. Children. How do we how do we take advantage of the children's tax laws? Aaron talked about this yesterday. What could we pay our kids for? Because you can pay each child up to $12,400 without them paying a dime in taxes. Is that cool? This is federal income taxes. We could pay them for accounting, bookkeeping, collections. We pay them for web development, office cleaning, office morale. A little 3-year-old who walks into the office could brighten the day better than you can, sorry. Equipment leases. Don't own the equipment, lease it to the kids. Remember, you can gift anyone up to $15,000 per year. You and your wife could gang up on a child, give them a $30,000 gift. Don't take a picture yet. There's no camera. There's a camera. Okay, there you go. So, image licensing. Okay, so you all met Becca downstairs. Becca had probably a 3-month-old son, 4-month-old. I don't know how old little John is, but they use him as a social media influencer. He's on a blog 2 or 3 times a week, and they're using they're using his tax bracket. And what's that?
Making use of it, not exploiting.
Making use, there we go, okay. And what do you use the money for? Aaron says the very first thing I would do is put in a Roth contribution. So, a couple of years ago, we had a lady here that has 7 grandchildren. And she pays them out of the business. She's got a benefit practice, pays them for whatever they can do. pays them $6,000 a year, and then each one of them are partnering on some real estate deal she has somewhere. Cool. We had a little gal come to our Orlando class. This was about 3 years ago. We set her up on the little bar stool right here. We said, okay, Katie, 8 years old. Or Maggie, what's in your IRA? And she says, well, I've got 3 residential houses, and I have a commercial building, and I do hard money lending. And then she kind of topped out what she could remember, and her mom says, you have a startup business. No, Mom, I have 2 startup businesses. Her mom, ever since day one, has been investing for her. She's 8 years old. She doesn't know profit loss statement. She doesn't know real estate, but her mom does. Savvy, and this little gal has some money in her retirement accounts, and she knows about it. Wow, could that give some confidence to an 8-year-old?
What was the equipment leasing? If you're paying your kids, like leasing their bike to them? I didn't understand.
No. In your business.
Yeah.
Okay, so you don't own the office equipment. Let's say you're doing Airbnb, and you set up a separate limited partnership or LLC that owns all the furnishings and equipment inside of your business. You have a dental practice. All the equipment is owned in a separate LLC, leased to the operating business. If the operating business ever gets sued, it doesn't own the real estate, that's leased. It doesn't own the equipment, that's leased. And I take that limited partnership or that LLC, and I give the kids a 10% ownership. Ooh! Each one of the kids receives it. This is passive income coming to them through the equipment leases of the business. Expense to the business. Is it reasonable for businesses to lease equipment? Yes. Who owns the equipment? Well, the kids own part of it. Who controls it all? Baby, you. So in this situation, but contribute to their Roth IRAs. If you got more than $6,000, remember Aaron said he was paying his kids a little bit more than that. They're under 18. Who controls the ATM card, their savings or checking account? No, let's be honest. Mom does. Because that's just how it works. So Mom controls the ATM card. So when it comes to their school clothes, whose ATM card are you going to use? Yours after-tax dollars or theirs? Theirs. And would they be more susceptible to picking up their school clothes if it came out of their account? Maybe. We're teaching them a little financial responsibility, and when it comes to their piano lessons, if it came out of their account, are they more likely to practice? Well, yeah, maybe. And so starting from day one, we're teaching our kids some financial responsibility. We're giving them confidence, but yet we're controlling it all. Because that's the way it works. Because it's a dictatorship in my family. Yeah, go ahead.
What if your business is operating at a loss?
Well, you need to be able to pay them something out of something. This is predicated on the fact that you're making some money, right? Okay, so it's a good question, but now could, if your business is still operating at a loss, could you still send an invoice? Do businesses always pay their bills on time? No. Oh, so that's going to give a bigger loss to the business. If that were taxed as an S corp or a sole proprietorship, that loss comes through and affects your personal taxes. Oh, that's good. If you can't deduct, look, don't change the way you're doing things. If you're not going to pay your kids, if you're not going to pay school clothes, if you're not going to pay piano lessons, fine, don't do it. But if you want to find a way to tax deduct it, okay? Equipment leases. A few years ago, my mom passed away, but the last couple of years she was alive, went into her home. She's got a $20,000 or $200,000 brokerage account. Dad left her okay, the house is paid off, left her with some money, but she won't touch that because that's for someday. And we go to her fridge and there's nothing in there. She's living off Social Security. Like, come on. So but she won't touch that bank account. Okay, fine. So my brother and I each agreed that we're going to pay $200 a month to help her. Now she'll take money from us, but she won't take it out of her savings account because that's for someday. So my brother pays her in after-tax dollars, $200. I go, oh, let's do something different. I take my laptop, my tower, all my office equipment, I spell it out, and I do a memo of gift. Mom, this is your equipment. But when you pass away, I want it back, okay? Still really sort of bad. But you remember you can gift things. Then I went down to Aaron's Rent-A-Center, is what we called it, and I did it. And then it cost, well, what would it cost to rent this computer and this laptop? And it was about $300. Okay, I'm very conservative. And now I sign a lease agreement between my mom and my business. My business now wants to lease this equipment for magically $200 a month. Who owns the equipment? Mom does. Have I shifted things from the left side of the screen to the right side of the screen? Mom doesn't care which check, what it says on the top of the check. She only cares about the number. Okay? So we're paying her. Is it reasonable for corporations to lease equipment? So I'm leasing the equipment from my mother for $200 a month. Now it's tax deductible. See what we're doing? We're using the tax code to our advantage. Cool?
Don, did your business buy that equipment, or did your business?
No, I bought the equipment.
Personally.
Yeah, I can't gift her things out of the business and lease it back. Yeah, don't do that. Okay. See, a lot of you, at this point, are you thinking maybe I've got a really stupid accountant? It's not that you have a stupid accountant, it's how you see the expense and how you told them to deduct it. Ladies, do you have a purse? Show me your purse. Okay, just reach down. Do you have it here? Okay. That's it. Okay. But that's sort of a cell phone. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Nice little purse. Oh, very nice. Okay. So would a small tablet fit into your purse? Yeah, probably. So, we can fit a tower in that one, and we get a nice little laptop in yours. My wife doesn't own a single purse. She owns a lot of computer bags, though, because computer bags are tax deductible. How you see the expense determines the right little box that your accountant's going to put the information on. Is this a business trip or is this a vacation? Is this a large screen monitor to watch the Super Bowl, or is this a large monitor for my computer? How you see the expense will determine whether it's tax deductible or not. Is this a guard dog or is this a puppy? Is this meal, are we talking business or is this personal? This business mileage, is it business related? How you see the expense will determine whether it's tax deductible or not. You see that? And a lot of it's not that we have stupid accountants, it's that you're giving them the wrong information because you're not educated. Love it if we can get you to one of our summits where we can spend a lot of time, probably a third of our time, teaching tax strategies. That's sort of what we do. Okay, meals. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on meals, but other than say this, look, a lot of you, I don't keep meal receipts. You know, the IRS doesn't require you to keep meal receipts under $75, but when I come here, when I come to Indianapolis, the IRS says, I can deduct $51 per day in per diem expenses. Well, I don't look like it, but I eat really cheaply. I probably eat the wrong things, but I eat. But okay, but 51. So I'm here for Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. So I'm here for what, 4 full days, right? So and when I get home, I'm going to take $204 out of the corporation. It's an expense to the corporation, It is tax-free money to me. I'm going to put it in. I'm not going to claim it. And I'm not going to spend $400 or $204 on food because Aaron paid for most of my food, and the IRS says that I can.
$50 per day per diem.
Well, it depends on the city that you're at. New York City is a little bit more expensive. Sometimes it depends on the year, but there are standard per diem rates, and there are wonderful little apps that says, I'm going to Phoenix in March. Okay, so I plug that in, and it tells me I can deduct $59 per day.
Can you switch back and forth from receipt actual to per diem?
Can I? Oh, sometimes. Yes, sometimes I do. If I'm here entertaining a client or a student or somebody, and we go to dinner together, do I adjust my per diem? No, I don't. I still take the per diem. But I call this a business expense, but it's only 50% tax deductible. How do I make a business meal 100% tax deductible?
All business.
No, meals and entertainment's gone, but meals are at 50%. But Aaron is paid for food. Is this 50% when he has this catered? And is this 50% deduction for him because it's a meal? No, because it's catered. Do you know that if you have an office staff and you send out to get pizza and bring it back, it's 50%. But if you have it catered, delivered, it's 100%. You're sitting in your room tonight. I don't make up these silly little rules. You can go down to the bar and order a hamburger, 50%. You can have it delivered to your room, 100%. Catered is catered.
And the difference is delivered.
As opposed to delivered is catered.
The idea is you're saying you're working late hours or something and you don't want to break, so you're bringing the meal in rather than going out for a meal.
Then it's 100%. See, it's just funny. Little gift cards that are bought for promotional reasons are 100%. What they get used for, I don't know. That's up to you. Okay. Home office deductions. Are you getting kind of an idea on taxes? We're spending too much time, so let's get on to other stuff. But how many of you are not claiming a home office deduction? Don't raise your hand because that's embarrassing. Okay, so let's say 20% of your house, or 18 or 5%, something of your house, 12% of your entire house, this section right here is used exclusively for business. We add up the square footage, we divide it by the number, 12% of your house. You know that now 12% of your mortgage and your rent and insurance and property taxes, landscaping, house cleaning, anything, repairs, 12% I can now write off as a business expense. Why aren't you doing that? We could be doing that. What about cell phones? A lot of your accountants are saying don't claim if you claim your cell phone, you have to keep records and say, well, 31% was business and the rest was personal. No, you don't. I know that's what that says in the IRS code. But the way the court interprets this in a revenue ruling in 2011, how many years ago was that? They said in a revenue ruling interpreting the tax code that if you have a business and the business requires you to have a cell phone, you know any business in America that doesn't require a cell phone? If you have a business that requires a cell phone, write it off without the requirement for record keeping. Duh! And your accountants never read that one? And they want you to keep records? That's dumb. What about internet? Does your business require that you have internet? I would consider that to be the same requirement, although there's no revenue ruling on that. Standard mileage deduction. If you're not keeping a mileage log, do something for me, okay? Take a little stack of $1 bills, put it on the console next time you go driving. Every 2 miles, roll the window down and take $1 and throw it out the window. After $3, you will have been cured because that's what it takes to buy a mileage log at Staples. And if you're too darn cheap to do that, do a free app on your phone. That's okay. Is this business or personal? Business, GPS, it coordinates where you're at, calculates the miles for you. Is that easy? Oh baby, start doing that. Last year, my wife and I both have home offices, but we still count our mileage. Last year, $12,000 in mileage deductions back and forth because we track miles. That's $12,000 expense to the company. I put in my pocket tax-free and don't claim it on my taxes because it's a reimbursement.
But not if your company actually pays for the car, the gas,
Correct.
and the
Correct.
repairs.
Yeah.
All that's deducted.
Correct.
You do that, right?
But then, if the company owns the car, then and you use it for personal, then you need to keep a mileage log of whatever you used for personal, because then you're kind of commingling, then you're screwing up your asset protection if you're not doing that. So always keep a personal, always keep a mileage log, but yeah, we went to church today, I went to the grocery store, but try not to use the company cars for personal reasons. Okay? Got it. But what about clothing? Is clothing tax deductible? If there's a logo on it, now it becomes advertising. But clothing itself is not tax deductible, right? If you're going to do dry cleaning, do it on the road. In travel status, now it's 100% tax deductible. So when you learn real quick to take all your dirty laundry with you in an extra suitcase, and no, I'm just kidding. And what about, how else could we deduct clothing? Let's say spill water all, replacement cost, buddy. Killed in the line of duty while I'm teaching a seminar in Indianapolis. I've replaced more ties and more dress shirts than I can possibly imagine at business meetings because, gosh, I'm just a pig when I eat and the business has to pay for it. Darn. Clothing is not tax deductible, however, find a way to do it. Cool? What about, some of you have paid for big education packages, either through legacy or, I don't know, over the years. Can you write these things off as educational expenses? No! Legacy is not an accredited university. This is not working toward a degree program. Your employer did not require that. You can't write these off as educational expenses. However, research and development for a new business has almost no restrictions. I'm researching ideas to be able to make money. Now we can call it a tax deduction. Do you see what we're doing? Okay. What's that? Okay, let's play a game for just a minute, okay? Let's suppose you just hired me, you want to do a Subway sandwich place somewhere near your house in Connecticut, okay? And so you just hired me for $30,000 and I'll come in and do a whole market analysis. I'll look at all the franchise opportunities, there's Wimpy, there's Subway, there's Arby's, there's I don't know, whatever. I'm going to compare them all. I'm going to look at all the competition in the area. I'm going to look at traffic patterns. I'm going to look at real estate, what's available, what's not. I'm going to look at all this, and then after 2 months, I'm going to slap a thing on your desk. There's your analysis. You think about it for 2 months, you go over it, and you decide, yeah, we're going to do this. Was that $30,000 an expense? Was it reasonable? Was it a reasonable expense to get your business started? Okay? I would argue that it is. That's research and development. Now, was it prior to the time you set up the business? Yes, so you're going to be limited to a startup cost. You'd have to deduct $5,000 and then amortize the rest. But that's okay. At least we can call it a business. So yes, we can do this. It gets technical. But I would consider that most of what you're spending on education, but don't try to call it an education expense. But I would argue that we can find a way to tax deduct it. Okay? Wow, we spent way too long on taxes. Okay, let me give you one more example. Then sorry, real quick. Yeah.
The startup costs and research and development are two separate things.
No,
Or one
and
and the same?
research and development, it could be a reasonable startup expense.
Right. But you can advertise over so many years.
So what we want, let's say I'm buying a package today, an education package or something. What we want to do is go find an existing business you have. If you have that, and expand the business purpose, have a meeting, be it resolved, the board of directors met, decided today we're going to expand into real estate investing. Then you've already got a 100% tax deductible. But if I have to go back, I have the expense, and then I set up the business, then the IRS limits me to $5,000 in miscellaneous and $5,000 in legal. Everything above that has to be amortized over 15 years. Does that help?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Just see me afterwards if you have questions. One more example on taxes. We are going to, in December, we're going to do a cruise. Aaron's done a couple cruises with us. We usually do one every year or so. This is where we're bringing in, over the years, we've brought some of the best instructors from all over the nation. We're going to go to St. Martin, Puerto Rico, and Bahamas. And this is where, you get a chance to sit down with Scott Eskel at dinner every night. You get a chance to sit down with Clint Coons or Brittany. Oh, she went on our Alaska trip last year. And have a chance to pick her brain every night. Are you kidding me? That was so insightful. Yes, and there were about 15 hours of instruction, and so this is sort of what we do. So we're going to take off. If you're interested, Kimball, you have flyers in this? Okay, so if you're interested, see Kimball. Again, St. Martin, Puerto Rico, Bahamas, amazing dinners. So every night you're going to sit down at a table, and we'll rotate speakers around, and so you get a chance to sit with any of the speakers that are there. All of them multimillionaires, all of them just amazing speakers. You get to sit down with them and their wife and just talk and see what did you do to get started in business, and I don't know, whatever you want to talk about. You can ask them whatever questions you want. So this is Gene Guarino. He does residential assisted living. Him and his wife, they make a lot of money in building residential assisted living. There's Aaron, sitting down with some of our students, and Scott Eskel. You notice nobody dresses up on a cruise? Yeah, we just don't do that. There's Mike Koval, probably the best stock market trader, multi-millionaire. Can't tell you how much money. When my daughter got married, he said, well, why don't you use my private island off the coast of Florida? I don't use it, I pay for it, but go ahead and use that for your honeymoon. Okay, that'd be cool. Here's the question. Are workshops on cruise ships tax deductible? No! You cannot deduct workshops on cruise ships. Well, now, okay, well, there might be a way around this, and what we do is we have a meeting somewhere at like the farthest port city, because the IRS says if you're traveling to and from a business meeting and you elect to use a form of luxury travel, like a cruise ship, you can deduct up to $940 per day per person. See, I don't make these stupid little laws. I just know how to use them. Now, you have to be traveling to one of the 30 countries that the IRS says, but we happen to be doing that, so that's okay. We're going to go to one of these cities. And so what we're doing, here's one of the meetings we had in Costa Maya. There's Scott Estel teaching taxes. Here, we gave everybody a certificate of attendance. Here's where we're in Roatan. And you notice there's a balcony up here. That second store balcony, you can't see it, but that's where we had our meeting. And then we had our meeting. We taught stuff we don't teach on land anywhere in the United States. If you want the information, I don't care how you're going to get there, but I went on a cruise ship. And you see that little circle right there? Do you see those three people? Do you know what that is? Corporate board meeting, baby! There are lots of corporate board meetings happening that day in Coast Point, or in Infinity Bay Beach Resort in Roatan. So this is sort of what we do. We play with the tax code, but we stay very well within the lines of the tax code. If you're interested in coming on our cruise, it's like $595 for the tuition. I can't give you better training than that. It's honestly dirt cheap. And then you have to pay for the cruise, and for an inside cabin, probably starts at $600 a person. If you want a balcony, it's a little bit more, but you decide what the cabin. I just teach seminars. Okay? That's what we do. If you're interested, see Campbell. All right. Enough on that. Oh, you all have one of these cards, right? Looks sort of like that. I have some great webinars. One on cost segregation. Campbell, we need to get them that Brett Hansen.
Okay.
On cost segregation. We've had webinars over the last 8 years on almost every asset protection topic. We've got a huge library but we're teaching those 2 or 3 times a month. If you're in our database, you get invited to those. If you opt out, you don't. But okay. All right, probate and estate taxes. Any questions on taxes before we move on? Oh, yeah. So those little cards that you can hold that up. You've all seen those. If you're in our database, you're invited to our webinars. Even if you didn't sign up for a seminar, but you're in our database and we know you exist, okay? This is my family's, this is my wife's, part of her family's estate. Anybody know where that is? Mohawk Mountain Resort in the Catskill Mountains up by Poughkeepsie, New York. So you go up from New York City, 100 miles up the Hudson River, and this is part of her family's little estate. And nice little grounds that go all around the place. This is high top. So looking out, you see the Hudson River. Back behind that low knoll is Hyde Park, New York. So you've got the Roosevelt Mansion, you've got the Vanderbilt Mansion. This is really big money. This is my wife's family's estate. It was voted the #1 spot in the world in 2000, 2002. It's a nice little property. You get that idea? So when we go there in the off season, my wife and I, because we're extended family, they give us a discount. If it's off season, it's only $762 a night to stay there. So we usually stay down in New Paltz with Holiday Inn or something. But we've stayed there before, just so my wife could say she's done it. It's a nice little property. They were also the founding fathers of Redlands, California. Smiley School, their last name was Smiley. Smiley Heights is all the upper land that looks over the San Bernardino Valley. You got Smiley Library, you got Smiley Elementary School, it was huge money. They brought citrus into Southern California. Oh, that was a big deal. They had the largest botanical gardens west of the Mississippi. You had 2 presidents of the United States visit their land in Redlands. It was huge. They were very well known. They were right next to the Kimberly Crest Mansion, Kimberly Clark, the paper company. It was big money. California, there was no estate planning done on that side of the family. There was on the New York side. Mohawk stayed within the family. Everything on the California side, there were 5 heirs to the California estate. 4 of them got along perfectly, 1 didn't. They fought over that after Grandma Smiley. Tam remembers her great-grandmother. But they fought over it for 19 years. After that, it was gone. Each one of the heirs received a check for a little over $5,000, and the estate was gone. Can I tell you, I kind of hate probate. My wife grew up in abject poverty. Her family was on food stamps. They had some nice antiques in the back, but it was her parents were divorced. It caused so much stress. Why would you ever leave your family in a mess? You don't. Probate and estate taxes are so easy if you'll use the proper tool in a timely fashion. You don't have to leave your family in a mess. Okay, years ago I taught up in Buffalo, New York. Remember that? And with us was an attorney, J.J. Childers from Arkansas. His dad had been he'd been a Supreme Court justice in the state of Massachusetts. He grew up there. He got halfway through his third year of law school. His dad dies, and he has to quit law school, go back and fight with the family in Massachusetts for 3 years over stupid little stuff because his dad, who's a Supreme Court justice, doesn't have the wherewithal to do a will or a trust or nothing. And he doesn't have, JJ doesn't have a lot of good things to say about his dad now. Why would he do that? Look, when my parents passed away, they didn't have a great big estate, but a very, very clear succession. Everybody knew, everybody had a copy of the trust. They knew what was happening. There was no fighting over stuff. Everybody knew what was happening. We get together now for birthdays, Christmas, and stuff for the family, but we don't get together to fight over stuff. If you're trying to leave a legacy, make sure you fund it. You set up a trust. The trust, the value of the trust is it passes on not just stuff, but a value of a good trust is it passes on your values. We value education. Therefore, if you would like education, here are the rules and the requirements. You need a 3.0 grade point average. You need to do something. You need a drug test once in a while. We're not going to give you anything. It doesn't have to be an equal distribution trust. It could be set up more as an equal opportunity trust. If you want a business loan, here are the requirements. If you want to invest in real estate, we'll help you with that. We value this. We value religion. Therefore, if you want anything out of the trust, you read the Bible 5 times or you don't get anything. Whatever you put into writing, you can put into a trust. And we are taking your values of what we value, and we're saying, here's how we're going to pass this on. Because like Aaron said, sometimes money, undeserved, can ruin people, right? How many of you have minor children? Okay, what is we talk about asset protection all the time. What is the most important asset you have? So little kids. To not have a last will and testament with a guardianship provision, if mom and dad die, here's who's going to raise the kids, is irresponsible. How do I say that? Think for just a minute of all the family members you have who you would rather not raise your children. Decide, put it in writing, get it signed and notarized. These are not hard documents to do, hard decisions to make, I agree, but not hard to do. You don't have to go to Anderson Law Group to do a last will testament. LegalZoom can help you with that. For $29, they do. There's sometimes, we can help you with the forms. Just get it done. Whatever you do, go to a local attorney, I don't care. But simple documents that can make sense to you. Does that make sense? I don't need to be on my soapbox anymore. But please, if you got, and the most loving thing that grandparents can do is give to your kids a blank form. You don't even have to put your name in there, but give them a blank form and say, this is your Christmas present, please fill this out, because these little grandkids are dear to me. Take Cheryl, please fill out this form, get it signed and notarized. I'll be back in a week to check on you. Whatever, okay, enough of that. And and I told you that little Tupperware bowl, whatever you have, limited partnerships, LLCs, corporations, no matter what we do, we always tie them to the trust. Otherwise, your interest in this LLC will go through probate because somebody has to decide who gets it. Your stock in the corporation has to be tied to the trust. We're going to spend a lot of time at the 3-day summit teaching how to make those connections and those ties, okay? But don't have businesses that aren't tied somewhere to your trust. Okay, capital gains taxes. Any questions on probate and estate taxes, by the way? Okay, let's take a dollar bill for capital gains. Let's take a dollar bill, and what I want to do is double it. 1 becomes 2, 2 becomes 4. How many times do I have to double this before it becomes $1 million? Well, double it 10 times becomes 1,000. So this isn't funny math, I'm just doubling it every time. I double it 20 times and I've got $1 million. Cool? Okay? Is it possible in a lifetime of buying and selling stocks, or you buying and selling real estate, you fix the fence, you flip houses, you work your butt off, after 20 years or after a lifetime, could you have doubled your money 20 times? Yeah. Oh, but this was without taxes. Let's play the tax game. Right now, most of you, if you're selling things long-term capital gains are only 15%. Okay, so let's play the game. We take our first dollar and we double it. But then we take out 15%. Now, is anybody really ticked off right now? Because, I mean, we do have a military and we've got schools, we got a road system, we got bridges that are falling apart. Does anybody feel bad that, that we're paying 15 cents? No cheapskates in here? Okay, so we're okay with 15%, right? So let's play the game. We take the $1.85 and double it, and take out 15%. And now we just keep doing this. Now, again, this isn't funny math. We're same amount of work. I'm buying, I'm selling, I'm fixing, I'm flipping, I'm understanding the stock market. I'm buying, selling, but at the end of 20 trades, you're either going to have $1 million or you're going to have $220,000. Wait a minute, it's right there. The long-term effect of you not buying and selling in a tax-free environment is you don't have enough money working for you. Little camera stuff, right there. Whoops, not there, sorry. Now are you mad about paying capital gains taxes? Free roads and toll roads, baby. And one is a tax-free environment and one is not. The difference is it was your choice or your level of education. Now the problem is that this is not the whole picture, because most of you live in a state with an additional capital gains tax. For instance, if you lived in Michigan, it's only 2.7 additional, but instead of having $1 million, you'd have 164,000. What if I lived in Indiana? It's only 2.9, I would have 160,000. Virginia, 150. Connecticut, 140. This is not going in a good direction. Are you kind of getting the idea? Ohio, 136. Maryland, 124. I didn't put all your states in here. New York, 106. California, same amount of work. Buy, sell, flip houses, and I either have a nice retirement, I have $1 million, or I have $91,000. Ow. What we're going to do is at the summit, we're going to talk about different free roads that are available for you. We're going to talk, if you want to take a picture of that, there are 7 of the best free roads that we know to avoid capital gains taxes. It's not everything, but they're the simplest ones. Live in the house for 2 years and avoid paying the capital gains taxes up to $500,000 if you're married. That's good. That's the 1031 exchanges don't avoid the taxes, but it delays them. Okay, that's good. and, you know, stepped up basis, which means you die and the kids inherit it. But sometimes that's the best way to pass on things, is don't give it to them in advance, just carry it, keep it, and the kids inherit it. So but it comes with, you know, kind of a major disadvantage. You kind of have to die. There's charitable working trust, there's family foundations, there's so many ways to avoid capital gains taxes. There are toll roads and free roads. Questions about capital gains? All right. Kendall, how are we doing on time? We didn't leave a lot of time to talk about. Okay, well, we got 20 minutes to talk about legal structures, okay? And then Aaron's going to come get the shepherd's crook and pull me off stage. The problem is that most students that we run into have spent their whole life learning offense. Make money, make money, make money, make money, make money, and no time to play defense. I don't know that the Super Bowl champions could have got there without some type of defensive strategies. Would you agree? And so the whole theme of our class is a lifetime to accumulate, 3 days to protect it. Give us 3 days and let us teach you asset protection. And some of you, if you've been to the classes, since almost half of you in here, come back once in a while. That's okay. We'll allow that. Come back as a refresher course. You'll hear things the second time you didn't hear the first time. You were trying to suck everything in, and it was like a fire hose, but you come back and you're going to hear things differently. Every time I hear Clint Coons, every time I hear Aaron Adams, every time I hear Scott Estill, these guys change up their presentations all the time, or I have no idea what Aaron's going to say when he goes on stage.
I don't either.
But you know what? That's sort of the beauty of this. Is that they are so knowledgeable and so experienced. It just doesn't matter what direction you want to go. You want to go a different direction, don't go there. Okay, so let me give you one example. The most common question we get in customer service is, okay, and as I've sat down with you, okay, I'm a real estate investor, what's the best legal strategy? And my answer is going to be, it depends. But let me tell you what it depends upon. Let me not leave you hanging. If you're a real estate investor, here's the questions I'm going to ask you. Do you want to flip or do you hold properties? Do you own the title or the note? One has risk, one doesn't. They're very different strategies. Therefore, are you using qualified funds, meaning retirement funds, or are you using your own personal money? One, we're going to use LLCs. One, we're going to use IRAs or their counterparts. Are you using leverage or not? That will determine how we're going to set up the structure. Are you using syndicated funds? Are you using other people's money? Don't take a picture yet. There's no camera yet. Are you a U.S. citizen? All of these things will determine. Let me just break down one of these. Just take the very first one. Are you going to hold or are you going to flip? If you're going to hold properties, here's your concerns. I'm worried about tenant safety. I'm worried about property managers screwing up. I'm worried about maintenance and I'm protecting my equity. I'm worried about keeping a legal structure simple enough that, gosh, I can even understand it and it doesn't create 57 tax returns. I'm worried about due on sale clauses. Because all of you, if there's a mortgage on the property, you sign a due on sale clause anytime since about 1982 or past that says if you transfer this property out of your name, the mortgage company can take the. How do we get around that? We're good at this, but that's a concern. You're worried about depreciation, losing that. Do you know that if you're using limited partnerships rather than LLCs for your properties, you'll lose the depreciation deduction if it's audited? Oh, so the wrong legal structure, we could screw up your depreciation deductions on all your properties. Oh, that's bad. What about passive losses? I've got 3 properties. 2 of them are making money. One's losing money this year on paper. I want to write off the losses against the gains. If you're using the wrong structure, you'll screw that up. And they'll deny your passive losses because you used the wrong legal structure. Does that make a difference? Those are your concerns. We can teach you each one of these. But if you're flipping properties, here are your concerns. It's a very different list. I'm worried about construction liability. I'm worried about subcontractors. Don't take a picture yet. I'm worried about buy-sell contracts. I'm worried about capital gains. I'm worried about dealer status. Because if you're holding properties and flipping properties, you're going to lose depreciation on all of your properties for 3 years. Since the concerns are different, do you think the legal strategies are different? There's the camera. Now you take the picture. See, I'm trying to make this really easy for you. And so many of you go to your accountant and he goes, well, let's set up an LLC for you. Are you kidding me? And he doesn't understand the implications of what you're doing. And he's going to screw up your taxes and your asset protection. Because real estate is not simple. You would never buy a car without walking around it looking under the hood, would you? We want to look at it from what you're doing from the tax side, from the asset protection side. We want to look at it from the estate planning side. We want to be able to tie all this together, and accountants are not in a position to be able to do that. They don't know how LLCs are being broken. They don't know how corporations are being broken into. We do. We study every case where a corporation or a limited partnership or an LLC is being under attack. We know how IRAs are being broken into. This is our business. We study asset protection. So, let me spend just a second on this, because this will confuse any accountant out there. And most attorneys don't understand the difference between corporate veil and charging order. And it's kind of a basic thing, but you need to understand it. We throw the terms around, but most people still don't get it. So let me just K through 12 this for you. Corporate veil means the purpose of a good corporate veil is to protect you from anything that happens in the business. So a lawsuit happens in the business. The business gets sued. What we want is a brick wall protecting you and your personal assets. We want something that will protect the directors. A lot of you, like the Delaware corporations, they protect shareholders, not directors. Nevada, Wyoming protects directors, managers. We like that because if there's going to be a lawsuit, we want you to be in Wyoming, Nevada. That's why. It's because they have stronger corporate veil protection. What we're trying to do is shield the assets from the business. We want to contain all the risk inside of that business, and so it doesn't come out after you personally. There are two types. So the goal here is to shield the officers and directors. It attracts all risk and contains it. That's our goal. There are two types of business entities that give you good corporate veil protection. What are they? A corporation and an LLC. Corporations and LLCs have good corporate veil protection. Limited partnerships don't. IRAs have corporate veil protection, except in California. Sorry. Because then they'll go after the trustees. But generally, okay. So those are the best legal structures for you. Photo op. Do you want me to go snuggle up to the TV so it's photo op time? Okay, here we go. Okay. But charging order is very different. And here's why it's different. Because now the lawsuit commences not in the business. You personally get sued. Now what we want is a barrier that's going to protect the assets and the business from you. You did something, or you're accused of doing something. You ran over my kid. I'm suing you personally, and we don't want them to take away your business assets. What are the best legal structures for that? If you own a C corporation, who owns the stock of the corporation? You do. I take that away from you now. Who owns the assets? The vulnerability of the corporation is a great tax tool but it is not an asset protection tool because of the vulnerability of the stock in your name. That doesn't work. So we use multi-member LLCs and we use family limited partnerships. Let's play a game here for a second. Okay. Tell me your name. Reuben? Robin. Mark. Okay. Sandy. Okay. All three of you put in your $1 million into a partnership. Sandy. Yep. Okay. So you're going to invest in real estate or stocks and bonds or pork bellies or whatever you're going to do. Okay. But Sandy gets in trouble. Sorry. Personally, he does something wrong. He's accused of doing something wrong. I'll be the bad guy. Sue you. Now, would it be fair if I were allowed to come in and take all $3 million out of this partnership? No, because it would hurt two people, right? Okay, so what if I can't take the rental properties, but I get all the rents? Would that be okay? No, that would hurt two people. What if I just take over Sandy's interest? I foreclose on his interest, and I become your pseudo partner. Is that okay with you? No, you didn't want me. You wanted Sandy. But I've got a lot more hair. but you wanted Sandy as your partner. So the rule for 102 years in the United States is I can't take the assets, I can't take the income, I can't take his ownership away. And now the only thing I can do is if there's a distribution to Sandy, my hand is on top of his for that distribution. This is called a charging order. I would place a charging order against Sandy's interest in this LLC, and that's all I get. Now, in a lot of states, that after 3 years, if I'm not getting anything, I'm going to try to foreclose on your interest. And I'm going to take that away. And most states will allow that after a certain amount of time, which is why, again, we use Nevada, we use Wyoming, we use South Dakota, Alaska, Delaware, because they have good charging order protection. But there's another problem. A lot of your accountants are saying, look, just set things up in a single member LLC, and you'll be protected. That's true. Single member LLCs have corporate veil protection. If something happens inside, they can't come after the officer or director. But a single member LLC does not have charging order protection. Sandy, I sue you, and it's in a single member LLC. There's no innocent parties to protect. Does charging order apply?
No, because you need the second person to vote out.
That's right. And so in 45 states, here's what happened. A little history, lots of court experience, but in 2010 was the big Olmstead case in Florida. Mr. Olmstead has ticked off the Federal Trade Commission. He swindled a lot of people. But he has $10 million sitting in a single member LLC that he owns. He's the only owner. And he's going to the judge, neener, you can't touch it because the only thing you do is put a charging order and wait for me to distribute. And the judge goes, no, buddy. There's no innocent parties here, buddy. It's just you. And he takes the assets away. That's a great court case, but it's been supported again and again and again. As a result of that case, Wyoming legislature met within just weeks. And they decided single member LLCs are good in our state. We'll take your filing fee. Nevada, Delaware, South Dakota, and Alaska follow. Those 5 states allow charging order protection for single member LLCs. But most of your states don't. So if you're going to your accountant, he says, set up an LLC, you be the owner, it's really simple, it doesn't require tax returns, it's disregarded. That is the stupidest tax advice. Well, it might be good on the tax side, but it's not good on the asset protection side. Are you seeing this? Okay. I'm a little passionate about this. Do you kind of get this? All right. I'm going to, there's some of the cases that will help. And there's the 5 states that will protect, that give charging order protection for single member LLCs. Cool? All right. And then we also look at your state law. In your case, in your state, are limited partnerships stronger than LLCs? Okay?
We're lawyers who like writing it up.
Oh, cool. Cool, cool, cool. If you would like, I would give you all the case law on one sheet of paper. Okay? So send me an email. Our website is protectwealth.com. My email is donp@protectwealth.com. And I'll give you all of the case studies, okay? Cool. Then I'll tell you that the strength of your LLC comes from your operating agreement. And let me just give you a couple little examples of this. Most of you, if you go to a well-meaning estate planning attorney, he'll set up an LLC for you. If you go to LegalZoom, you can do that. If you go to Quicken Family Lawyer, they can do it. But most of them will have a little clause in there that talks about distributions. Our goal is to distribute funds annually. That's our goal. So you're all going to get, so it attracts partners, good? You distribute funds annually. But now I've got a charging order against Sandy's interest. You are going to distribute funds annually because it says so right in your operating agreement. Oh, that sucks now. What would happen if there were a clause in there that says the general partner or the managing member gets to decide whether to distribute funds? Now I'm standing here with a spigot going, we're just not going to distribute this year. Wait, we got roofs to put on the houses, there's another house I want to buy, there's things we want to do, we're not going to distribute. And then maybe there's another little clause in there that says we could still pay Sandy for fees rendered to the partnership. Or there's another little clause in there that says we can distribute pro rata or non pro rata, which means to you and you, but not to you. But there's another clause in there that says we can still borrow money or lend money to anybody we want to. Now, have we hurt Sandy? No. But what we have hurt is me, who has a charging order against him. Is this making sense? The strength of your LLC document will come from the operating agreement and the flexibility that you build into it. And if Don does put a charging order against you, Don has to pay the taxes on income that you will never give me. Oh baby, that's called phantom income, and we can build those clauses into that as well. I don't have time to talk about maintaining legal structures. But if you're gonna have legal structures, you need to maintain them. We'll spend a whole hour or two at the 3-day summit talking about this. So, non-qualified investing. Let's show you some diagrams. This is not IRA money. We'll show you that in a second. So, what we might do is we might want to start with safe assets. If you have a lot of safe assets, which is stocks, bonds, mutual funds, cash, things that aren't going to cause lawsuits. We might put those in a family limited partnership. We like those because they've got 102 years of court experience. LLCs are the new kid on the block. So we might start with that. If you're looking for tax savings, almost always we would have an LLC taxed as a C Corp, or a C Corp, or an S Corp, but some type of a corporation. This is to manage your investments. We're going to suck every tax perk we can possibly suck out of your management company. Everything then flows down to the trust. All of your stocks of the corporation would be titled in the name of the trust. All of your interest in this limited partnership would then be titled in the trust. And again, we can talk about that, but I don't have time. Then, when we add real estate, then real estate could cause black accidents and lawsuits. So we separate that and we go, let's have each property or groups of properties in its own LLC. We like LLCs, not limited partnerships, because of pass-through losses. I don't have time to talk about it, but now you see what, and then we tie who manages everything. The corporation. If you own a desk, a pencil, a ream of paper, who owns those things? The management company. It just manages little stuff, depreciating stuff. Not anything of value. Who owns the major assets? The limited partnerships and LLCs. But eventually, everything is going to fall into this big Tupperware bowl at the bottom. so it avoids probate. Now, does this make sense to most of you? And I know what you're feeling right now. If this is brand new, you're going, oh, this makes sense, and you have this uncontrollable desire right now to give me a standing ovation and kiss my face. Just contain yourself, I'm okay. This is sort of the model. If you don't need tax savings, we don't do the corporation. If we don't have lots of assets, we cut back on, scale back on this. But most of you with assets over $100,000 in net worth, we probably ought to look at a trust. Okay? That's sort of the basic guideline. Now, when we do this though, how many tax returns have I just created for you? Corporation has one. Each one of these multi-member LLCs have one. So there's 5 tax returns. My individual 1040, 3 partnerships, and a corporation. There's 5 tax returns. What if I could simplify that for you? You okay with that? So then we use a model that looks like this. Then we use single member LLCs, but you're not the member, Sandy, because you own that in your name. Now what we do is we use a hub. We use a holding company. We put this in a really strong state. Or at least we keep it in your state, but make it a multi-member LLC where there's charging order protection. And the beautiful thing about single-member LLCs is that they can separate properties or groups of properties from each other, but they don't require tax returns. So everything flows into one partnership entity. Now how many tax returns do I have? Well, my personal, my 1040, the corporation is still going to have one, so that's 2, and the partnership will probably have one. Now there's a few of you that live in community property states. That would be, let me name them, Washington, Idaho, California, New Mexico, Arizona.
New Mexico's not.
Yes. Oh, yes it is.
Yeah, community.
New Mexico, there's Texas, there's Louisiana, and Wisconsin. Those 9 community states. If you live in those, you can have a multi-member LLC, but the IRS looks at you as just one person. Therefore, you don't have to file a tax return for that multi-member LLC hub in the middle. Oh, that's cool. So we don't have to complicate your taxes to give you complete separation. Cool? Okay, question.
Just the LLC taxes a corporation, so you're using an LLC with less paperwork requirements and it's only...
Yeah, because if you have a corporation, you're required to do annual shareholders meetings, board of directors meetings, minutes meetings, resolutions, stock certificates, stock ledgers, corporate seals, all this corporate formality crap that you're probably not going to do, and if you don't do it, they can pierce the veil. With an LLC, taxed as a corporation, there's less formalities. That's why most small businesses today are set up as LLCs, taxed as corporations. So you file a form with the IRS that says, oh, I'm an S Corp, and they go, oh, you have an S Corp. So they see almost across the board, almost 100% all the tax deductions you could get out of a C Corp, you could get out of an LLC taxed as a C Corp. Couple exceptions, but generally. Okay, let's talk about how you find the money for real estate deals. Let's say that multi-member, you didn't have enough money to do a real estate deal. So I use money out of my trust, I use money out of my qualified pension plan. Could that be a member of this multi-member LLC? Could I use my HSA plan or my IRA? Could that own an interest in these? Oh yeah. Some of you have the money, you just don't know that you have the money. I didn't know I could self-direct an IRA. I didn't know I could self-direct an HSA plan. Oh, you can use those to become partners with you and partner on real estate deals. Okay, let's use qualified money. Now we're using IRAs. Again, Aaron's tolerance for risk is about $250,000 in any one legal bubble, right? But does that apply to LLCs or to IRAs? Yes. So what if I exceeded your tolerance for risk, not his, but yours? Let's say my tolerance for risk is $150,000. Could I have 2 IRAs? Yeah, I could do that. Now, you're gonna pay Dennis an extra $135 a month or a year for, but, okay. Now, you can do that and separate and have different IRA accounts, but you can also use the same principle. Oh, wait a minute, one hub in the middle, using single member LLCs owned entirely by this hub to separate the properties from each other. If I lived in California, would this be a good idea? If they're going to tax me $800 per year per LLC. Massachusetts, is that a good idea? $500 a year? No, I would have more IRAs. But some states like Indiana, $26 a year for LLCs, I might have more LLCs than I would, so it depends. And this is why we can't give you a blanket, yep, here's the best way to do legal structures, because it depends.
Wait, Don, sorry. Remind me why, if you're investing with your self-directed IRA, what's the advantage to putting the house in the LLC just to hold, than to holding it in the IRA?
Let's say this IRA has $1 million in it, right here. And now, because remember, IRAs have corporate veil protection.
Right.
If something happens here, it contains the risk in there.
Right.
So I got $1 million in here, but something happens inside of this one, it doesn't affect anything else that I'm doing.
Or you get, like, if you have $1 million in liability on one rental property and you have 4 rentals in your IRA, and you exceed $1 million, then if it's in its own LLC in the IRA, it silos the liability. It can't bleed into any other house.
Okay, so the IRA is separate from anything else you have, but within the IRA itself, if you want to separate that.
So we see clients who want the max asset protection that they can. They'll do LLC house inside the IRA.
Okay, so it's just protecting itself from itself.
That's exactly right. It's protecting you from inside liability.
Right.
Now, Anderson Law Group, let me be the neutral party here. Anderson Law Group really likes setting up LLCs for you. That's their business. But if you don't pay your filing fee and you don't have a separate bank account for each one, then it kind of collapses the whole idea. If you don't pay your filing fee in Indiana for this LLC, then you've lost the corporate veil protection. I really like the simplification of just sometimes having more IRAs.
That's a better way to do it.
It just makes more sense. That way, it's on him. There's no filing fees. There's no separate bank accounts. There's not even a separate bank account. Dennis keeps everything in one escrow account for all of us, but he has separate books, and the IRS is okay with this. But there's less formalities for you to screw up, for me to screw up. This is why I would rather just have more IRAs. But I understand the implications of this. You get to decide. Now, my time is up. What I didn't have time to talk about, so much. I didn't talk about personalizing your business. This is where you come to the summit where we can sit down with you. I didn't talk about sophisticated clauses we can put inside these LLCs that are just phenomenal. I didn't talk about more income tax savings. I threw out a plethora of ideas, but how do they apply to you? I don't know. Just some ideas. Best states to incorporate, we really mentioned that, but what's really best for you? I don't know. Probate and estate taxes, we covered it at such, I have 5 minutes to cover probate and estate taxes. The sources of lawsuits. If you're going to play defense, you need to know where the sources are going to come from. Where's your biggest exposure? And we can help you with that. Tax-free planning. There's so much I didn't cover. If you haven't been to a summit, the cost on it, do you remember the flyer we gave you, Kimball? You go there, you remember this? This one. The cost to attend the summit is $995, but we've waived this. Aaron and I got together and we went, he insists, if you're going to do real estate, you better do it right. We waived your tuition. Come to the summit. We can't make it easier if you sign up today. It's not like a today only kind of thing, but we really want you to sign up. And you can wait till Vegas in November, but then the tax year's gone. The two that we're most interested in putting you into, it would be Nashville. I know it's in 3 weeks, I get that. But it's the best time to do tax savings. And we can backdate anything to January 1st at this point. If we don't see you until August, then there's gonna be Phoenix. We're always at airport hotels, so it's easy, just get to the airport, we've arranged a good, hotel rate for you. We're not paying for your hotel. I'm cheap, we just pay for cookies and sodas and coffee in the morning. You're on your own for food and transportation, but it is the best asset protection class anywhere in the nation. We're good at what we do, and those of you who've been here, where are you at? It can be life-changing, can it not? Yeah. So if you haven't been here, anyway, this is what we do, asset protection. Kendall will be here all the end of the day. I'm here for just about another hour. Maybe not. And then I need to run. Kendall, what did I miss? Anything?
If anybody needs one of these, let me know. If you have one to turn in, me or Don can pick it up from you.
Aaron?
Yeah?
First class operation.
Lunch is here.
Thank you for letting me have time.
Good night.